This episode, I show you how I turned a dollar store toy into a cool patinaed bronze statue. If you guys are like me, you're always looking for cool little pieces of terrain you can build to throw on your table to make things a little bit more interesting. Say your players are exploring an old graveyard, set of ruins, maybe an abandoned town. Something that you can put on the table that really enhances the ambience is a mysterious statue. And there's no better way to do it than with a dollar store toy, modified, painted in such a way to look like an old bronze patinaed statue. It's a really easy project to make. Like I said, $1 toy from the dollar store, a nail, spray paint, a little scrap of styrofoam, whatever you got, some craft paint. Really, it doesn't get much cheaper and easier than this. So if you want to have something that looks like this on your table and are willing to spend, I don't know, half an hour making it, I'll show you how I did it. Steve, start the pictures. Okay, so this thing started out as this little Maleficent toy from the dollar store, specifically from Dollar Tree. They've got, I think it's like 4 different villains in this line, but the other ones I don't really think would work well for a statue, but this one, with a little bit of modification, definitely looks the part. Out of the package, there are a few small problems with it that need to be addressed before moving forward. The first, I personally did not like the look of this crow or raven that's perched on her shoulder. So I just took my X-Acto knife and cut that right off. The second problem is her staff. So there's 2 things about it. One, it has this ugly square bit of support between her clothing and the staff. And the second is that it is made of a very soft, kind of rubbery plastic that bends a lot. And I wanted it to be nice and rigid. So I actually just went ahead and cut that entire staff right out, including the support. This plastic's so easy to cut with a blade that you can cut things off and blend it and you won't even notice. Once I had the staff cut off, I needed something to replace it with. So I just looked through my hardware and I found a spiral nail or Ardox nail that was the right diameter and the right length. And the actual spiral of the nail, I think, actually looks a bit better than just a plain smooth one. So I went with that. And under her hand, I just kind of dug in a little point for the point of the nail to stick into, used a bit of super glue, and glued it in place. The bottom of it, however, needed something to secure to because being glued just at the point of the nail definitely wasn't enough. So I figured the best way to do this was actually to create a bit of a base for the whole statue, and that would give something for the head of the nail to glue to. So I just took a bit of scrap styrofoam and cut it out to the shape of the bottom of her kind of cape there, including a little jut out for this nail. And I just hot glued everything in place, and then made sure to also super glue the edge of the nail head to the bottom of the toy. This made everything nice and secure. Now, I wanted to spray paint this whole thing because when you're dealing with these cheap Chinese plastic toys, the plastics that they're made out of vary greatly, and they can be really problematic for painting. I've personally found that the Krylon 2-in-1 paint and primer tends to stick well to this type of plastic and dries, doesn't get tacky like some of them do. So that's what I used to spray paint this whole thing black and give me a fresh flat start to put my acrylic paints on. But if I was going to be spray painting it, that meant that the styrofoam on the bottom, the base that I made, would melt. So what I actually did was I just gave it a quick protective coating. And on this one, I happened to use a mix of drywall joint compound and glue and black paint. It makes styrofoam rock hard and there's no risk of melting with this method. You could just get away with a coat or two of PVA glue, but when you're doing that sort of thing, I recommend mixing in some black paint or something, just so you can see if you've missed anything. But I always keep some of this sludge of gray filler around for this purpose, and it works really well. So coated the entire styrofoam area, let that dry, and once it was dry, I just spray painted the whole thing flat black. After that, I was ready to start actually doing the real paint job on this. So it's just a couple coats of different colors. The base coat is a folk art metallic called chocolate brown, and this basically looks like a really dark bronze. So even when I'm painting in metallics, I kind of do it in the same method I would if I was doing it in non-metallics. Like say this was wood, start with a darker brown and move progressively up to lighter shades. So I find that this chocolate brown metallic is a nice base coat when working with bronze or copper, and I completely cover the whole thing, make sure to get in all the crevices with it. Once that was dry, I moved on to the actual bronze, and of all the craft paints I found, this has the best kind of bronze color. It's by Craftsmart. It's one of their premium colors. I mean, it's not, when they say premium, it's still premium craft paint. It still only costs like $2 or $3, but it has a really strong pigment to it, a lot of metallics. It covers really nicely, and I really like the particular color of it because it has that really coppery undertone to the bronze rather than more of a brown. So I gave the whole thing a coat in that, and I'd say I probably gave it a 90% coverage, not making sure to get in all the little cracks and crevices. And this coat is what gives it its real nice bronze shine. But of course, this looks like a brand new statue. And if that's what you're going for, say in a temple that's indoors and in use, you can go from this step straight into the washes and call it a day. But if you want it to have that kind of patinaed look, like I did, you want it to look like it's been outside in the rain for many, many years, you're gonna wanna give it that green bronze patina. There are, I'm sure, paints ready-made that you can buy for this. I know all the miniature painting companies have their own patina kind of colors, but if you want to achieve it really cheaply and easily, with all my experimenting, I found that these two colors mixed together give you a perfect patina. So both are Craftsmart colors. One is called Ocean Breeze and one is called Apple Tart. When you're making this color, you need it to have a mix of blue and green, but the blue has to be kind of like an aqua or turquoise kind of blue, and the green has to be like a vibrant, almost neon green. So mix these two together. It's almost 50-50, half and half, but just do it by eye, and you should recognize the color. Pull up some reference photos of bronze statues and go from there. So when you mix that together, then you're gonna wanna go and cover the statue. Here, when I paint this, I use kind of like a dabbing method with my brush, and I make sure only to get all the outermost flat surfaces. I don't try to put this into the crevices because you want some of that bronze still showing through. Otherwise, it just looks like a green statue. And if you look at reference photos, there usually is a decent amount of bronze still showing through, and it seems that this patina happens on the outermost, most weathered surfaces. So you're kind of doing this like a dry brush, getting it on those surfaces without getting into the cracks. But on the big open areas, like on the front of her outfit, you want to do it like a kind of stippled dab method. You can use a brush for this, or you can use a small sponge. And at that point, it begins to look the part, but it still looks too clean and too fresh. So from there, I gave it a couple washes. And of course, you can check my episode on how to make a simple black wash. I'm using a few different colored washes here, but the method is exactly the same. I'm starting off with a brown wash, and I have found that I am trying to move away from putting my washes on with a brush. I want it to hit the piece naturally and let gravity kind of do its job. And since I don't have an airbrush, and I'm guessing a lot of you don't have an airbrush, grab some of these like $1 spray bottles from the dollar store. You can get like a 3-pack for $1 and put your washes in there. It's a nice way to just be able to like squirt things on naturally. It's a little bit messy, so of course put a big piece of paper down or whatever, but I found it's a really nice way to apply washes to pieces. So first was a brown wash, and I completely soaked this thing in it, let that wash mostly dry up, but I didn't wait till it's completely dry before moving on and giving it a coat of a black wash. This really gets in those creases and makes it look grimy and dirty. And last, just to give it that look like it had been sitting in an outdoor damp location, I gave it a subtle green wash. This doesn't show through obviously on the green paint job, but it is there and it does make things look a little bit more grimy. And that's basically it. As soon as that is all done and dried, it's ready for the table. If you want, you can give the whole thing a coating in Minwax polyurethane in a satin. It'll really seal everything in. I didn't really worry about it on this piece because it's something that will hit the table only once in a while. It's not going to see heavy gameplay, but if you transport your stuff or you're doing a bunch of stuff that's going to see a lot of play, hitting it with that polyurethane would not be a bad idea. Alright guys, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, hit that like button and drop me a comment below. And if you built something inspired by one of my videos, go over to the Blackmagic Craft Facebook page and post a picture. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that button. And last, if you really want to help this channel grow, the best way you can do that is by supporting Blackmagic Craft on Patreon. All the funding goes directly towards new video equipment and software so that I can bring you better content and give it to you more often. I'll see you again next time. Peace.